Hello again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related political issues, and self-defense issues. Fired Up is on our website, firedupwithbobirwin.com, and the American Guns and Glory Network. It's also on YouTube and numerous other media. A new show is posted every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your area. Questions and comments can be sent by email to me, bob@firedupmail.com. Again, that's bob@firedupmail.com. The message is for my guest. Actually, the guest will give his own email today on today's show. You can also leave a message on my office recorder, which is 702-257-1060. That's 702-257-1060. If you don't leave contact information, I can't call you back. Questions directed to our guest will be forwarded. As I said, the guest will have his own for that information today. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms every week in the United States, rarely truthfully covered by any mainstream media. We always present a few for our listeners' education. Most are good shootings. Some are questionable. Sometimes they're just wrong. No way to get around that. But I picked them out because they're educational for those of you that own firearms, or keep firearms for self-defense, or carry one for self-defense. So, the individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law, so the advice here might not apply to listeners in different jurisdictions. And stories are often paraphrased by me for clarity, doing translation from police jargon, what I call lawyer speak, and regional accents back into more common standard English. The incidents are as reported, except the names of the participants are generally omitted. My guest today is California and Nevada firearms attorney Donald J. Green. Don, a bit of your background, if you would.
Thank you. Bob, I want to thank you and Rigel Studios for having me on quite often. Again, my name is Don Green, and the emphasis of my practice has to do with firearms, whether you're trying to get one, sell one, you're a federal firearms licensee, you're in trouble with the law. We deal with all aspects of firearms litigation. We're involved in some litigation, both potentially here in Nevada, after some of the Nevada laws become effective on January 1st, 2020. And we are involved in litigation in California, both in San Diego and Sacramento, concerning the magazine ban, in which we represent certain people. And if we are planning on entering a case before the U.S. Supreme Court with a particular group of people here in Nevada, once they get together and decide that they want to file what's known as a amicus brief with the United States Supreme Court on a very important Second Amendment issue. Your fans, or excuse me, your viewers and your listeners can find me. Just go to Donald J. Green Lawyer or Donald J. Green Gun Show Lawyer, and it'll come up with my website and the contact information. My 24-hour cellular, 702-409-8239. Thanks, Bob.
And he does answer that 24/7, as I can attest. When he calls me, I'm always in the shower, so don't let him call you. He'll find you at an awkward time. This first story is from KTRK ABC 13 TV. It's reported on September 16th, a couple weeks ago now, in Hockley, Texas. Law enforcement officers responded to reports of a shooting at the Showboat Drive-In Theater located in the 22,000 block of Farm. The street's name is Farm to Market, believe it or not.
Yes.
Around 2:30 in the morning. The Harris County Sheriff's Office told the media two managers were finishing up their shift when they spotted some motion inside the concession stand. Deputies say the female manager decided to go check it out and was confronted by two men. One of the suspects pulled out a bat and started beating her with it, while the other suspect turned and fled. The manager reportedly pulled out a gun and shot and killed the man who was beating on her. The manager was armed. Deputies are now searching for the second robber. This certainly is a valid shooting almost everywhere. Just to digress, having been a theater manager in my misspent youth, particularly at a couple of large drive-ins, I can attest robbery is a huge problem. It isn't like closing the exit doors at a walk-in theater. You have fences and people crash the gates, hide in car trunks, bring all sorts of things with them in their cars, including weapons and drugs and so forth. So most of these operations have armed security at the gates and on patrol all the time. I see nothing wrong with the shooting, but interestingly enough, as this took place in Texas, where they have really good self-defense laws, they're still looking at this to make sure that this was a viable shooting in Texas. In California, Nevada, I'm not as sure.
That's true, Bob. Let's go to California. Is this a valid shooting? What was the relationship between manager 1 with the firearm and manager 2 who was getting beat? Because there is a work-related relationship between these two people, does the law of defense of others apply? Answer, yes. So even in liberal California, anti-gun California, assuming that manager 1 had a weapon which was legal, assuming that he was not otherwise prohibited from having the firearm, then his use of the firearm while watching a fellow employee get beat is going to be fine. Let's go to Nevada. In Nevada, this most certainly 99% is going to be a valid shooting, because we have the manager who has this work relationship with this person. Let's take this scenario, very briefly, let's take this scenario to Walmart. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're walking out of Walmart and you see someone, a man and a woman, and the woman's getting the worst of it, and the man's beating her in the parking lot. What do? Can you pull your weapon in Nevada? Answer, no. Where is the threat of great bodily harm or injury to you? And this defense of others, the Nevada law says family. Now, if this is your granddaughter who went out to take the basket, one of the 2 baskets out, and the guy starts beating on her, then there's that relationship. You have that duty. And in Nevada, and possibly more than likely in California, you're going to be all right. But to try to go in, intervene, and shoot somebody or pull your weapon while someone's beating up their girlfriend in the parking lot at Walmart at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're going to have a problem. Because the little old lady on the other side of Walmart, coming out of the other exit and entrance, all she's going to see is a man with a gun. And the man she's going to report that. So, your best bet is to call the police and say, there appears to be some kind of an incident. Because once you pull the gun, the focus is then on you. Because what happens if these people were role-playing and they were doing this for some kind of weird gratification and they wanted to get attention and somebody was filming it on their camera for YouTube? So what you perceive as a beating is actually role-playing for some stupid program on YouTube. So that's why don't pull your gun if it's a family member or with this particular drive-in manager. And again, it's 2:30 in the morning? So it must have been a triple feature or something. But in Texas, probably okay. Nevada, probably okay. We don't have any drive-ins in Las Vegas anymore. But in California, there may be. But you have to look at your situational awareness. You have to be aware of what's going on in the case, in the situation, and assess it in milliseconds. If it's not a family member, call 911.
We're going to break here for a brief word from some of our friends and associates. Don't go away. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at 5693 South Jones, right at the corner of Russell Road. My friend Goker runs that studio. They train UFC fighters. They have classes for children, adults, old folks like me. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing is run by my good friend Chris Eifelt. He runs the NRA, Friends of the NRA dinners. He's on Rainbow and Sahara. You can reach him, a fine gunsmith, at 702-365-1732. That's 702-365-1732. Next is attorney Jerry Creed. Jerry, the slide will tell you that he does estate planning and all that, which he does. He's here because he also does firearms trusts, particularly Class 3 trusts. If you own a lot of guns or any Class 3 firearms that you wish to pass on to your heirs, you need to talk to Jerry to make sure your will or your trust is up to date. It changes by the minute. He's at 702-806-7777. That's 702-806-7777. And we're back. This next story comes from the Daily Register on the 28th of September. This is like 5 to 6 days ago now. In Columbia County, Wisconsin, state and local authorities are investigating a suspicious death after a rural Columbia County man was found dead in his basement while reportedly looking for a possible intruder on Friday night. During the call with dispatchers, the woman said her husband had gone to the basement with a gun after they heard noises and suspected someone was in their house. She said she then heard a gunshot, looked down the stairs, and saw her husband apparently dead, which he was. The Columbia County Sheriff's deputies and emergency medical personnel responded to a 911 call at 9:22 p.m. from the woman who said her husband had been shot in the home on Brady Road in the town of Leeds. They found the 35-year-old man dead in the basement. Deputies searched the house and found the woman and a small child hiding in another room. Both of them were unharmed. The Columbia County K-9 unit searched the area but didn't find anyone still there. There's a press release attached to this that explains kind of the same thing from the police department, that they got this 911 call on Bradley Road and so forth, and a female called asking for help, and so forth and so on. It says the same thing, basically, the story does, except it's in police speak. It's going to be on the website when we put this up. The sheriff's investigation is active and ongoing at this time. Anyone with information should contact the Sheriff's Office Crime Stoppers at 800-293-8477. Searching your own residence for an intruder can be a fatal mistake. In this case, it apparently was. If time allows, always call 911 and let the professionals find the guy, handle it. You may be a competent shooter, but without knowing the number and locations of possible opponents, places you at a terrible physical disadvantage. This is something we don't encourage you to do. Let the professionals help. Mr. Green.
Let's look at this case from a legal perspective. I think the wife has a problem because we have no evidence of an intruder. We have the wife calling 911. I've got my child in my arms and my husband appears to be dead. This is an episode of Snapped on the Oxygen Channel. Because, and notice that the police words, and Bob pointed this out, suspicious death. It doesn't say we're investigating, a death involving, an intruder. That's part of it. But they use the adjective suspicious. And I think that if the police took a gunshot residue, did a test of the wife's hands, I think Bob and I would be talking about murder one, the child will be in child haven, and the mother would be behind bars. And during the call, this woman has very detailed, you know, my husband went down to check on intruders. He went down the basement. He heard noises that maybe someone was in their house. She then heard a gunshot, looked down the stairs, and her husband is dead. Where's the intruder?
Yeah.
Did he mysteriously run up the stairs? Is there another exit, as Bob points out, you know, from his analysis as being in law enforcement since the last century? Just kidding. Where's the intruder? How did the intruder get out? Is there broken glass? Is there something to corroborate the wife's story? And as Bob points out, this is a situation which is still being investigated. Moral of the story, Bob says don't go downstairs, but if you're still in the house and a member of your family has been injured or shot, you need to go to a place of safety unless you have a firearm and someone is coming towards you and you perceive that as great bodily injury or death, because you're going to be a suspect right away if you don't.
Sure. Call the cops. Any homicide investigator anywhere in this country will tell you there's the husband's dead, the wife shot him, claims there was an intruder and there's no evidence of it. Now, the lady may be telling absolutely the truth, but is she going to be the suspect automatically? Of course, because it's usually a close family member that does these inside of houses. Not that she did it. That just makes the police suspicious. And this just happened, so we're missing all of the physical evidence that would be there, where the blood spatter is from the shot and so forth and so on. Anyway, we're going to break for just 1 second for another brief word from our sponsors. Don't go away. Attorney Don Green, who is a regular on this show, as most of you know, specializes in gun litigation, firearms law, firearms license denials, things like that, and defense in firearms accusation cases. You can reach Don at 702-409-8239. That's his cell phone, 24 hours, 702-409-8239. That's Don Green, attorney at law. And Maggie Mordaunt. Maggie, you can find her to start with by just searching CCW Maggie, M-A-G-G-I-E. Maggie is the firearms instructor extraordinaire. She teaches all sorts of classes. She trains instructors. She teaches at the county range here in Clark County. Great instructor, an NRA certified everything. I've known her forever and ever. You can reach her at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. And Ricardo's, my favorite watering hole. They're located at Flamingo and Decatur here in Las Vegas, Nevada. The owner's name is Bob, so tell Bob sent you. You can reach them at 702-227-9100. That's 702-227-9100. They have banquet facilities and electronic stuff available for clubs and meetings and so forth, and you will love the food. Battlefield Vegas, the new home for being associated with Fired Up, is located directly behind Circus right off the Las Vegas Strip. It is the most amazing place you will ever find for firearms to shoot in their range. You can shoot a minigun in there. They have all sorts of high-powered machine guns and so forth. At their outdoor facility, they rent tanks. You can actually crush a car with a tank. I couldn't explain this place in the 30 seconds I've given myself here. You must try going by Battlefield Vegas. You will find them at battlefieldvegas.com. And we are back. This next story comes from WB-TV, which is TV Channel 3, CBS, reported on the 1st of this month. We're taping this on the 3rd, so this is 2 days ago, again, in Statesville, North Carolina. A homeowner returned from his Turnsbury Highway home to find his back door had been pried open. In searching the home, first mistake, he found a 26-year-old in a bedroom stealing his jewelry. The homeowner held the burglar at gunpoint until the Iredell County deputies arrived and took him into custody. During the investigation, deputies found 2 other nearby homes had been broken into as well. The 26-year-old in custody had stolen property from those 2 homes on him at the time. Sheriff Darren E. Campbell said, "This is lucky for the suspect this investigation not ended in a drastically different way." The burglary suspect was arrested and charged with 2 counts of felony breaking and entering, 2 counts of felony larceny after breaking and entering. Investigators say more charges are expected. He's being held on $30,000 bail, which he hasn't made yet. Had his intended victim not been armed, obviously there clearly would have been an entirely different scenario here, and it wouldn't have been a happy ending. This incident is also an example of criminals working the same neighborhoods until they are caught. Mm-hmm. If your neighbors have been hit recently, it increases the odds of your home will be the next target. Get to know your neighbors and pay attention, and if you're broken into, tell your neighbors. Comments on this one, Don?
Yes.
Another search your house.
That's correct.
Went out okay so far.
It turned out to be fine, assuming that in your jurisdiction you can do this and hold the suspects at bay, with the firearm. In Nevada, this can be okay. California is probably going to be okay again, assuming that the weapon is legal, assuming that the cartridges in your pistol are legal, and assuming that you have the right or the opportunity to possess a firearm. But I'm looking at something from a completely different perspective. This incident is stated to have occurred on October 1st, 2019. Today is October 3rd, 2019. This demonstrates the timeliness of these types of shows, Bob, and like what you and I do at the gun shows, because you cannot rely on the training. You should not rely solely on the training you received at a CCW course. The law changes, the examples change. So this way you can learn from this show. You can learn by going to the gun shows and speaking to Bob and I, and you can learn by going to classes such as CCW Maggie. You saw her commercial just a moment ago. But again, you must keep up with current examples. You must keep up with the law, because in those milliseconds between the time of the shooting and we as the defense team need to constrict that time. The DA, the prosecutors need to expand that time. And Bob and I are working on a case right now where that time element is critical. And we may have another case where the time element is critical in a shooting. So what you need to do is you need to say, well, I need to go for more training. Answer is yes. And the reason why, again, is that this is a perfect example of how timely this show is.
So true. The first question you get from the prosecution is, when the last time you practiced with your gun? This is especially after you miss with your round and it hits some bystander and you hadn't practiced in 5 years. Here it comes. Look out. You're carrying a weapon you are not competent with. You've got to practice.
That's right.
All the police agencies shoot at least 4 times a year. At least 4 times a year. Everybody qualifies. I want to mention, everybody, coming up on the 30th of this month, the Keystone Annual Dinner. We have as a keynote speaker Trey Gowdy. This is at the Venetian Resort on the Las Vegas Strip. Tickets start at $175. You get a fantastic first-class dinner from the Venetian. You can find the information on this at www.keystonenevada, one long word, keystonenevada.com. Now, we're right up on it. Look at that. I got perfect timing
A gun
again.
show in 10 days?
Yeah, we got a gun show coming up in 10 days. We'll hit that one next week also, so you remember. We're both going to be there. You can check out our recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters that you saw the little notes from during this show. We'll be back next Thursday on our website, firedupwithboberwin.com, on YouTube, at the American Guns and Glory Network, and on numerous other websites and media, television and radio stations. Every week I get a call from somebody who's watching the show that I had no idea we were showing in that state or that country. You think you got to be up on U.S. laws. You got to hear some of the calls I get at home. I live in Indonesia. If I shoot a guy...
I'm sorry, I can't help you.
When watching on any media this show, all you need to do is hit subscribe. It'll be somewhere on your screen, and the shows will come to you automatically around 5 p.m. Pacific time in your area. Please forward these broadcasts to your friends. And by the way, our logo merchandise, hats and shirts and books and so forth, are now available at Battlefield Vegas, which is just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. Stop by. You will find an amazing, absolutely amazing place. Remember, the audio portion is rebroadcast on the Nevada Talk Network all across Nevada, Saturdays at noon. Check out the stations at KELY1230.com. Thanks for supporting Fired Up. We'll see you next week.
Thank you again, Bob.